Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. And in this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Kristen Clark. Kristen, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Aaron, for inviting me.
I really do appreciate you taking out the time from the snowy mountains of California.
Surprise.
We were discussing before the differences between upstate New York and and the mountains of California. And I just think that temperatures are different and the snow is obviously different. So it is what it is. But thank you for taking out your time for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I this is what I live for. I love it. Conversations.
So I want to ask, and I tell everyone in every episode, and this will probably, eventually the loyal listeners are going to get upset about this, but it's fine. We're going to double down. Read the bio, check out the info before you listen to the episode because it'll help your inspiration. But your energy is on a different level. Your whole, and I do want to talk about. We're going to get to making a conscious decision to bring that into your professional life because I think you've done that, and I think that that's incredible because a lot of people kind of bifurcate their personal energy and their personal vibes and their professional energy and their professional vibes. But where does that come from? Is it
very well said, by the way?
Thank you. Is it something in your upbringing? Was there a moment where you were just like, because this is not, and I say this with respect and admiration, your energy for life professionally is not normal. And I don't mean, I'm not calling you abnormal.
Nope,
you know what I'm saying? Like we were just talking
it.
for a couple of minutes before. and I think it's part of your whole inspiration of others. And I think you know what I'm saying. So like,
I
where
know
does
exactly
that,
what you're saying.
It's not in the mold but it's also not like, it's also not nuts. You know what I mean? Like you're not a crazy person. So like, how did you decide to just embrace that? Did something happen? Is it in your upbringing? Like take us back to those moments.
I'll tell you, there's a great story about Picasso and it's really short. He's sitting in a restaurant and a woman comes up to him and says, "Here's a napkin, just draw anything, I'll pay whatever." And Picasso draws on the napkin, he hands it to her, he says, "Okay, that'll be $10,000. And she's like, "You just did that in a couple minutes." And he's like, "No, it took my whole life." And so I am me. That I'm just me. I wish I could say, when I turned, when COVID happened in 2020, I had a dramatic, I wish I could say that. I wish I could say when I had my 3 near-death experiences, that's when I had the white light and it was never any specific thing. It was just this constant being me and standing by me. And I think that's, we were saying we were going to talk later about it, but the reason I said that was so well said about, some people definitely tamp down their passion, whatever their passion is, for naps, whatever. They hide it, they tamp it down, they feel they're being judged, and the only person who can judge you is you. And so I think the biggest thing, Aaron, is that it's such a blast in here. So flippin' much fun. I can't help but bring it out. And this is what I love. This is what I absolutely love. So I can't give you a specific time frame or was I born this way? I'm sure I was born this way. There's pictures of me and all my siblings, and I'm always the one in the corner with a giant ass grin on my face. And the biggest thing is the celebration of yourself, because when your number one fan, which is you, is celebrating you, you can't help but just be like, life is amazing.
But I agree, but I'm not taking my foot, as you said. By the way, I forgot to thank you for this in the open. Thank you for complimenting my New York energy because we embrace that here. But
yeah.
I'm not taking my foot off the gas on that. And that is, you said you look back at the pictures, you see the big grin, and you know that you're unapologetically you, yet so many people would apologetically hide. And so, and obviously, and I think that it's something that I'm learning and that we're learning in the movement that is Keep Hustling. And we talk about redefining and defining everyone's hustle and bringing out the best in yourself. And that's one of the great things about, I think there's a lot of challenging things that are going on in the world in 2025. And I think that's one of the good things, is that people are embracing themselves. But you weren't born in 2025. I don't think you're a Gen Zer. I'm not either. And so, like, meaning that wasn't cool. That wasn't promoted. Embracing you.
Yeah.
And so
It
why?
wasn't cool.
Why?
I love that.
And my more direct question is, like, I think every person, I think it would be hard for a person to embrace themselves, embrace their hustle, embrace their energy, share that with the world, and not think that it's awesome. But that requires the steps of doing it, and so many people don't. So many people out of fear don't. Meaning the Christian the Christian that I'm talking to today looks back and says, "This is flipping awesome," right?
So let me take you there. So let me take you a little bit down my mindset. So it's like, if you were to be able to go back in time and sit with Albert Einstein, a lot of these things you're saying, he's not there. He's not thinking this way. He's not interacting with that. Many of the things I do not interact with is, all these people are doing this. My answer is, where are all these people? It's just you and me. It's just you and me here right now. I don't see all these people. That's an assumption. And while it's a great little sandbox to play in, it can really halt this aspect of you, because it's so much stuff piling on top of this part of you. So one of the greatest things, and I don't know where I saw this quote from, but the basis behind the quote is this: in this moment, right now, this just right here, right now, you are fresh. You are brand new. This version of you, with these thoughts and these questions and this lighting and this temperature in this room and at this particular second, has never existed before. And in the very next breath, you're going to be a whole new one. And the one that was in the breath before will never exist again. So to operate from that space, which you automatically do, you already do that, because there's no other space other than right now. But the thing is this: when we can move into this space and then erase all the backstories, every single one. I am the youngest of 6. I am a grandma. I am this and that. Just remove them all just for a second. And who are you going forward from that space? It's kind of like as if you got amnesia and you had no idea who you are. In this now moment, you can be anything. You get to be anything. And you get to remove the worries, the fears, the judgments, there's all this going on outside of me. There's all this going out outside of me, which is a very sparkly space to get distracted from. And it's cool. It'll hold you down, though. You want to come up to this level, you're going to have to start being a little more solid in your convictions and stop letting circumstances, those assumptions, telling you what your world is.
Yeah, but isn't it?
True.
But I love that. I love that. And we're starting to dig one layer at a time. So I like what you're saying, but I do believe, and maybe, and I'm asking for clarification, not telling you that you're wrong, in that
that's okay.
I don't think that a person can shed or should necessarily shed those foundational bricks that brought them to where that moment is.
But see, your foundational bricks can be shifted at any time.
Correct. But I'm just saying, the part of that embracing is saying, I'll use a New York City skyscraper example just because it came to my head and I love New York City, right? the foundation is very wide, and I can choose of which elevator, which vertical I'm going to embrace right now. But I think that it's very hard. I think that oftentimes what gets people down, and this just came to me as you were talking, and I appreciate you for the inspiration, is that very often people don't know where to start because they feel like they're made up of so much. And since they're made up of so many and so much diversity, right? I might as well not try to embrace and live in this moment, as you're saying, which has never happened and will never happen again. You know, it reminds me of that great quote. You and I are quote addicts, so it's fine. But, you know, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today's a gift. That's what we call it, the present. That, you know.
That's such a cute one. I love that one.
That but I feel that so many people who I speak to on a daily basis fear that. Fear the analysis. Fear the jumping
There's
off.
More assumptions. Nice, Aaron.
Right? But I'm being honest, right?
Oh, and I love your honesty. I want you to be honest.
But how many people can shed the assumptions? And again, I believe that when a person jumps off the cliff with the parachute, that moment is the most freeing moment because they've shed everything from the past and they're flying free.
Nice analogy.
Right?
I like that.
And the air is crisp and it's flowing in their face. But nobody jumps off the cliff.
But you keep saying nobody. You got a lot. There's a lot of blanket statements going on in here.
Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Everything is only my perspective is the only perspective.
And you know what? I'm going to agree with you right there. I'm going to fully agree with you. Your perspective is the only perspective because you can't get into other people's brains, right? And if we really, really want to go down a rabbit hole, we can help you to play with the realm that you are the only perspective. And I'm going to ask you a question and kind of take you here. Do you have any memory of not existing?
Obviously not.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of teachings that say this, but obviously not. And if we're playing with Occam's razor, the most obvious answer is the one that's right. So in this moment, if you have never not existed, then there's a whole world that you get to kind of bypass and focus on that you are the only thing in your reality that is solid, consistent, and always there and needs nothing for your existence to continue. You don't need time. You don't need permission. You don't need anything. In fact, I dare you to try to imagine non-existence. It's the only thing you can't imagine. Everything in your reality, all these thoughts, all these beliefs, all these state of beings, the state of minds, all of this comes in and plays with you, but eventually it goes. Sometimes it goes because you're like squirrel. Sometimes it could be a wife coming in and then she goes because she's going to work, whatever. But the one thing in your life that never, ever, ever, ever goes and cannot is staring you right back in the mirror. It's you. You cannot escape your existence ever. And it is such an enormous space of holy shit. Sorry, I cuss. You New Yorkers should be okay with that.
You don't scare me. I grew up on the New York City subways. You don't scare me.
It's such a New York boy through and through. But it's a whole new world. And you were talking earlier about how people can be afraid of this, afraid of that. How afraid are we of seeing the fact that we are the only thing in our reality that does not stop, that the existence has never, ever stopped?
So I want to, there's a lot there to unpack, but I want to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Because while I'm unpacking that, or as we're unpacking that, or as we re-listen to this and unpack that, what is the one tool that everybody should be doing, thinking about, the one question that people should be answering to get away from those assumptions, stereotypes, so that and embracing and finding themselves? But
I
what
just,
what
no,
what should we
seriously.
is that 90 seconds a day when you wake up in the morning of thinking of it? Is it before you go to sleep? Is it because a lot of times people get lost in esoteric ideas. I'm being honest. You know, we're in the world. We're in the microwave generation of
That's
air
one way to look
fryers,
at it.
microwaves, and uh, multiple exponential growth and diagnoses of ADHD and ADD. So what is? Give me the tool. Like, how can I
Give me the tool.
improve my perspective in creating, or you know what? Let's do it this way. I told you that I wanted to bring up something incredible that you said. It's in your bio and everything.
Let's do it.
Manifestation isn't something you do; it's something you are.
It's something.
So now, I want to correct myself. A minute ago, I said, "Give me something to do to manifest away from it." You're saying it's not something you have said. It's not something you do. It's something you are. So how does a person get from do to are? How's that for a question?
You just did it. You just did it. Once again, saying how do we get from do to are is yet insisting on that. Give me something to do. And so what happens is we get stuck in a reality of do, how, I don't understand. And this reality, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just, it's like when you're on a trip and you drive through a town and you stop and you're looking and you're like, oh, do I want to stay here? No, let's keep going on our drive. You go through so many states a day. I don't know if you have kids or a wife or anything.
5 of them, a wife and 5 kids. They're amazing.
Right on. So you have the state of the father. And that state alone comes with its own manifestations. You don't have to do anything. And the manifestations are children, their names, their personalities. You're manifesting all sorts of memories of when they were born, issues you had yesterday, last week, birthdays, blah, 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 blah. You're manifesting everything to go with the state of dad. What did you do to be the state of dad? Nothing. It was a natural part of you just walked through.
I survived the labor. What are you talking about?
You survived the labor. Did you squeeze those babies out?
Nothing to say. It was traumatic.
Your wife is watching this. So then you have the state of the husband. Comes with its own manifestations. You don't have to do anything. You're just walking through life, not even realizing it, naturally. Ooh, naturally is the big word here, as the state of the husband. And this is a frequency. There's a frequency to the state of the husband. You have thoughts, you have beliefs, you have ways of being, ways of holding certain comments back and saying things, reading the room. There's a whole persona with that. Then you have the state of the podcast host. Comes with its own manifestations, memories, ideas, a title, what your guest is going to be like. You've got this whole thing, and you're constantly shifting these around. Then you have the state of the, born and raised New York. The New Yorker state.
That's the primary state, by the way.
That's the umbrella state. There you go. That's the umbrella. All the others are underneath it. Yeah. And then you have the state of the subway rider and the state of the, brushing my teeth. There's so many states you move throughout the day. You don't think about how do I get to this state? How do I shift from father to husband? You don't think how. You just do. And this is what I'm talking about when I say manifestation is not a thing. It's something you are. It's the state and the natural manifestations that are already built into it, or you can call it creations or generations or whatever you want to do. You are creating this constantly, and you're never stopping and asking how. You just do it without thinking. And this is the part when you start playing in the house and you start splattering blanket statements all over your reality, that's another state too. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but that is another state. And it comes with the manifestations of all this stuff that feels so flippin' real. This is the way the world is. well, that's the way your world is. That is not the way my world is. And so these are all the invitations to open up just a little bit more and go, oh, there's a lot more out there than I've seen. There's a lot more states of being, state of mind, that I haven't explored yet. I haven't gotten to yet. You know, you could be the next Joe Rogan. That's a whole different state. So there's so much available to you. And in this current state, you're just playing. Really, it truly is a giant sandbox with all sorts of toys. That's your manifestations.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
no, I'm not going to butt that. I like that. Is there okay? I'm internalizing that. The
I love
NY
that.
Risk Advisor has to take some time. No, but my
Can
question,
I tell you what a butt is?
a butt is a deflection.
What is it? No, it's not a deflection. It's for lack of a better term, it's holding on to a smaller state that you're already done with. You've already outgrown it, but there's a comfort in there. There's a comfort in that familiarity. And so we yeah but a lot. And it's also understanding that it's a baseline. It's kind of like, you know, people will lose weight, but then they go back to their original weight, or they win a bunch of money, but then they go back to where they were when they won the money. That's a baseline. And it's just a comfortable space. It's a belief in ourself and who we are. This is my persona. Again, it's just a state. But it's so when you're in a, well, yeah, but, you know, you take a moment and go, oh, what limitation am I fighting for here?
Is there ever a time that a person should embrace the limitation?
Absolutely. Again, not right or wrong, not good
by
or
the way,
bad.
I'm not talking about like illegal activities or like obviously a person who like sees another person and says they want to stab them. Like I'm not obviously I don't
disclaimer,
think that,
disclaimer.
Yeah, that's the disclaimer of all disclaimers. But you know what I mean? Like is there ever a time when a person should just say I want to be unlimited. Every person should be unlimited. Nobody should ever limit themselves. But in my current state, where all right, but exactly. Let me try that again. Is there ever a time when a person should say, I want to be unlimited, I am unlimited. However, in this current deadline I have at work, in this current crisis I'm dealing with God forbid, you know, a sick child or a sick relative or whatever, I have to just limit myself and not manifest out, but limit in so that I can complete this. And that's not taking away from the person's inner ultimate goal of expansion. It just
what
is,
if
is a temporary limiting.
Being unlimited?
A little further. Take me a little further.
What if what we perceive to be a limitation is actually being unlimited?
How?
So think of it like this. You're God.
I don't know.
Unlimited.
That's not a position I want to be in.
Let me just go with me, Aaron. Yeah. Story time here.
Story time. Close my eyes.
All right. You're God. You are unlimited. You've never known what pain and anything we consider limitation. You've never known any of those things. But in order to expand more, to be more of a God, you got to experience those things. You know, you don't get to know what success is without failure, right? And so if you're this all-powerful being, omniscient, all-knowing, what would it be like to be unknowing? I don't know. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to do this. So I get people that's like, well, why? Why this? Why that? Because you can. Because you mother flipping can. And there's the God hiding in plain view, plain sight. What we're calling a limitation is actually just you expanding enormously, hugely, because you don't stop. You still keep going. The most
Keep
catastrophic, oh
hustling.
my God, horrible, horrible, horrible thing to ever happen. This too shall pass. It always does. And who remains? You. I always say this, it can't make you less of a God. You're never less of a God. You remain. No matter what catastrophic, oh my God, COVID, oh my God, this, that, Trump, whatever. You remain. This will be over soon, and you will continue on. When
Until it's
you,
over.
if you believe it's over, like I said, you ever not existed? Nope. And so there's this whole opening of what we thought was a ceiling. And then you realize, oh, there's no ceiling there. There was just what I was creating. And now I see that there's nothing there. And now this whole world opens up to you, this whole new, you're like, how do you be like this? I'm just like this because I constantly question. I take somebody's limitation and I ask, how can we go bigger? How can I go bigger? How can I blow this out of the water? There's a thing called original thought. Original thought is a belief or an idea, an epiphany, a thought that comes in that has no catalyst from anything. So people who created a cell phone and airplanes and
Are those the
rockets and
best thoughts? Are those the best thoughts?
those are fun. I told you it was fun being in here. That's because the original thoughts. The original thoughts that nobody stimulated this, nothing outside of me is saying this is the way it is. This is me going, ooh, where'd that come from? Holy cow, let's explore there. And here I go down another rabbit hole that is just mind-blowing. The epiphanies they're the best drug ever.
The epiphanies are the best drug ever. I got you. I like that. I can dig that. I can dig that.
You've had a couple already.
I
The
like that.
ones,
No, I like that. I think I think that very often people run from the epiphanies because they're scared of where it may lead because there's
who are these people you keep talking about?
They're the butt people. They're the butt
The
people.
butt people. There's a book.
There's a book. The butt people.
The butt people. That was such a good answer.
I'm gonna, that's what.
Yeah, that was good.
I think that people should listen to this again.
Mm-hmm.
I've never said this before. I think that this is an episode, and maybe we'll have to do another one on just. There is so much danger and limitation, yet that seems to be the most comfortable place for so many people. Limiting beliefs are so dangerous. But
you get to the other side.
No, but what I'm saying is I think that so many people believe that that's the most comfortable state because they've never been in the state of being limitless. For so many people, the status quo of limiting beliefs seems to be the most comfortable state. Whereas that is what Keep Hustling is about. Keep Hustling is about not limiting. It's about defining yourself, what you stand for, and chasing it. So I appreciate you for being here and expanding that and expanding my view and helping us all, removing the buts, bringing in the howevers, and embracing the energy. But the
butt people.
We
proud member of the butt people.
As you know, we end every episode by asking our guests to leave us with their favorite inspirational or motivational quote, what it means to them in their hustle. And with that, I will say thank you again, Kristen Clark, for being here. Thank you for the inspiration. Everyone should check you out, check your books out, check your events out, because I think they will be inspired by it. And if nothing else, they'll learn more about themselves, which I think is what we're all ultimately searching for. So with that, I will turn the floor over to you and take us home on the inspirational hustle.
In life and in business, you are the frequency everything is responding to. Even if you're a butt person.
I love that. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. Kristen Clark, thank you for being here. Thank you for braving the very difficult California mountain, almost spring weather. And remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.